Welcome back, sillies. As you can tell, I've messed with my mic again. It won't be the last time, I guarantee it. Because every time I get closer and closer to perfection, but not. So, I actually had an entire thing recorded for the Squid Game Season 3. If you've already seen the Charlie video, then I'll try not to recap on the stuff he said. The stuff that I said before this recording he hadn't touched upon, but realistically, I forgot a bunch of it because it was like a handful of days old. Anyways, so is it anywhere near as good as the other two seasons? I don't think so, especially since the first 2 to 3 episodes are actually pretty decent, and then it kind of just completely falls apart, and I'll touch upon that in a sec. But I will say that I'm going to put a time stamp now for when spoilers are showing up. Cool. Now it's spoilers free until then. It really just feels like what happened is that there is a passion behind this project, and the creators wanted to, season 1 probably should have been where it ended, but they liked money. But season 3 is where execs and suits and people like that started getting involved, because without trying to spoil too much, they try to make you like characters that you are supposed to absolutely hate, that are like that the show is supposed to be satire of, or at least try and give like human characteristics to them. You can also tell that at big corporations and potential humanizing might be coming in, because they name drop 2 other big unrelated properties and Jesus himself. I'm not kidding. They're like, oh, you guys know that thing. We also know that thing. So we're humans, you know? Yeah, I can't not. They also stop focusing so much on the VIPs and the games being evil, and start, it seems like they are focusing on like the players being assholes, which, bold take, I guess, for your show that's based around the flaws of capitalism and the exploitation of the poor through the rich. But we ball. They make a lot of mistakes all the time, and I'm not talking about like the showrunners or anything like that. This season had me going, why don't they do this? Why doesn't this character do this? Why don't they use this thing that they have? I was saying that over and over and over throughout the entire duration of watching it. There was multiple times in each episode where I'd be like, why don't you use this? Why do you have this? Why did that just happen? Why did this character just do that? What? The stuff from season 2 in which the detective is basically irrelevant. It shouldn't be in there. The only thing that I can say that I found mildly interesting from that entire thing is the detective has his hands on some sort of M4 platform rifle. And the rear sights are actually down when he's doing stuff. And then in one scene, you can actually see from a different angle that they're partially up, but they're not fully up. And then they go back to being down, and then back to partial, and then back to down. Which there's no reason for me to point that out other than I just thought that was interesting. I guess this is spoilers territory now. I can't think of anything else I can say it without it being spoilers. There's probably stuff in the old recording, but I deleted it because my computer system was system volume was turned down. Now that we're in spoiler territory, I hate that Giyun dies. I get it. I know. He's supposed to have beaten the system and defied that, like, that there is hope and stuff like that. All these thingies, little, but they do a thing at the end where they go to America, and at least the game master does, to drop off Yoon's belongings at his daughter's, and the game master sees a recruiter, an American woman recruiter in America, recruiting some guy, some like a presumed homeless guy, while playing Dakji, which is, why are they, if it's American Squid Games, why are they not playing American games? I know that's like a nitpick, but like, why are they playing Korean games in America if it's supposed to be the American branch, like a separate branch of the same organization? Whatever. I just find it a bit odd that the worldwide, like all of these Squid Games worldwide, are using specifically Korean games, but whatever. The reason I even brought that up in the first place is because that's some sort of hinting at them wanting, they're probably going to do like an American version of the Squid Games, which, like, I guess fair enough. I don't think that it's going to do very well at, like, in the slightest, especially since the reception of this season probably, you know what, I'm going to double check. They're probably wanting to do a continuation of the games, which means that it's going to be in America, which, wherever the money wants the shows to go, I guess. But they threw away Gyun in a way that was supposed to be emotional. Totally understand that. But his whole goal was to dismantle the games. And I know that it's like, you can't beat the rich, and especially the like suits and execs that are, you know, pulling the strings probably also want to reinforce that message. But that also completely, think of it this way. We thought this was an isolated thing that was in Korea, and it followed a set of characters that got you to care about them, and then there was one that lived, and because he lived, he used that as a motivator to take down these things. It turns into a revenge story, and the revenge story falls through, and then you now move to a different set of characters within the same universe. It's not going to have the same impact. It's not. You can tell another good story. Don't tell me, like, that's not the problem. But it's definitely not going to be as popular. There's just nothing you can do to make it as popular, because it was a revenge story, and people love revenge stories, especially when it's against people and corporations that, you know, screw over the everyday person. But that's not the point. The point is that I found myself at multiple points having them go like, why would they do that? And I think that a lot of the points, especially during the last two episodes, the last episode particularly, where they're playing Squid Game in the sky, and like there's like 8 of them, and then they just go on like a spree and start throwing each other off, and you know, ending each other. It's not, I just found I lost all investment at that point. I did not care, because in the beginning of the season, I think there was inklings of the child's father having redemption arc. And then that just seems like he kind of threw it all out the window, and now he's not an interesting character anymore. Now he's just greedy.
I like money.
And that's not compelling. I don't care about that. It also reinforces my idea of like some sort of execs tampering with the story and being like, oh yeah, well, we have to make the VIPs look like more humanized characters, and then the people down there seeming like the bad people. Especially when there's like some of the people in the group, uh, like by the last game, are like cartoonishly evil. They're just evil for the sake of it, and it's not compelling, and I don't care about it at all. When the entire last episode, I went, this character's gonna die, this character's gonna die, and this is how they're gonna die, and all of this is gonna go wrong on the second one. I literally predicted the entire thing, and it happened, and then I knew that Gyun was gonna die. So in the scene where it's gonna happen, I just got up and I walked away to go take like a pee, and then my roommate paused it to be like, "Oh, do you care?" And I was like, "No, he's gonna die. I don't care." Especially since they like changed things so drastically. Nobody got any character development, and the interesting characters that existed died. That's all I really need to say. I forgot to add this as much as well. The fact that people kept voting to continue the games was the dumbest thing ever. Like everybody perished. They got ended, whatever you want to say, in the hide and seek game. And they became, even the like super rich dude came like within an inch of his life. And everyone still votes to keep going. There wasn't a discussion about it or anything, and the pot, like the money had gotten big enough that literally only like 2 characters were mentioned that they still had enough debt. The brief explanation of like, oh, they're gonna be singled out if they vote no by the game master is really dumb, because they saw how, like, the room was full of people in the beginning of the previous game, and then they come back and there's like under 12 people, like ballpark, and you think that like basic human instinct would be like, oh, I need to survive, I have enough money, I can go. But no, the sweet old lady, after her son her son falls, she gives Gyun a speech, and then immediately, yeah, I'm gonna say it. The sweet old lady, after her son perishes, chooses to game end herself after giving Gyun a little speech and telling him to take care of the one girl's baby. I also think that that is incredibly dumb, because why? I get the idea of like, oh, she's old and stuff like that. But even in the previous game, she like went like, oh, attack me instead, spare them. So at the very least, she could buy a couple seconds. No matter what game came up, she could buy a couple seconds. And in season 2, she had, when they did the one where they had to do the, I think it was like 4-legged race or 3, yeah, where she did like the game and she had to like catch them. She did good at that, so she still could have been a very valuable asset in protecting the baby. She had no idea what the next games would have been. They just threw her out because plot convenience. There was a lot of that, really. I think I mentioned before in the detective, that entire storyline is completely pointless. I know Charlie already said this, so I'm not going to repeat what he said. But the story could have functioned completely without it, because it went nowhere. And I think that's because the final draft of season 3, or this, like, after season 2, whenever the baby is born, like, after that section, it started getting tampered with by somebody who doesn't actually know what they're doing. And that's why the detective story went completely downhill. If I had to rank it out of all the seasons, I would say season 1 is probably like a 9 out of 10, because it does have some flaws, but it is easily the best. Season 2 is like a 7.5 to 8, and then this season is like a 5 because the early episodes bring it up, and then the rest where it was like clearly tampered with, and I saw that there was like the creators still wanted to create a vision. They just had to work around these sorts of roadblocks. Really sucked and took me out of it, and it just kind of makes me feel bad. So yeah, I think that 5 is a comfortable spot for it to sit. That being said, if you enjoyed it, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life. I'm not gonna shit your pants, but I will say, if you really liked it, especially more than the other ones, please tell me why in the comments, because I will definitely at least read that and want to understand why you think it is better, because I think it is easily the weakest season. They try to make the VIPs likable and then just make them cringe. We like DC and Marvel too, so like we're humans too. We know about Jesus, but we don't follow any of the like. We're gonna cheer for the main cast, but we're also going to, and then also the I'm not gonna regurgitate the same points. It was a much weaker narratively, than the other seasons, and I'm not like a fucking experienced writer or anything, but I do write like as a hobby, so at least I understand some of the things that are supposed to be going on. Not very deep, but you know, I can see when something is not to its original intent. That being said, see you sillies, and thank you for tuning in. Sorry that this one was late.